evening. Welcome to Unity Church of the Hills. We're glad you're here. You know, in this work that I've been in for about 30 years, I've bumped into some wonderful folks, some amazing teachers and authors and people in the movement. And along comes Dr. Joe into my life about a year and a half ago through his second book, and the one that really jumped out and grabbed me. And we began to work with that book here on a regular basis and teach it as best we could. And then we worked it out for Dr. Joe to be here through the auspices of Insight Events in June. And I had a feeling that he would be, as he presented himself on What the Bleep and in his work. But it's been a great pleasure to find that is really absolutely the case. Dr. Joe Dispenza is a great gift to all of us, and he is so because he sees the great gift, the geniuses that we all are, and has a tremendous ability to bring that out. So please welcome to our stage tonight, Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Thank you. I want you to turn to the person next to you. I want you to look them in the eye. I'd like you to introduce yourself as a genius. Let's begin.
Hi, I'm Pat. I'm a genius. I love that exercise.
Now, before we begin, I have a few questions for you. How many people in this audience actually believe in the idea that the way you think has some effect on your life, that your thoughts create your reality?
Yep.
How many people believe that? You do, yes? So I have another question for you. How many people actually woke up this morning and consciously created a future? You know, the biggest reason why people don't do it is because you don't believe it's true. You see, if you knew that your thoughts created your destiny, if you knew that on a gut level, would you ever miss a day? Come on. And would you ever let any thought slip by your awareness that you didn't want to experience? So you think 60 to 70,000 thoughts in one day. Out of those 60 to 70,000 thoughts that you think in one day, 90% of those thoughts are the same thoughts as the day before. So then the same thoughts will always lead to the same choices. The same choices will always create the same behaviors. The same behaviors will produce the same experiences, and the same experiences will create the same emotions, and those same familiar feelings and emotions will drive the same exact thoughts. And your biology, your neurocircuitry, your chemistry, your hormones, your physiology, and your genetic expression will be always equal to how you think, how you act, and how you feel. And so then your personality creates your personal reality. That's it. And your personality is made up of how you think, how you act, and how you feel. So the present personality who's sitting here today has created the present personal reality called your life. So would you agree then that if you wanted to create a new personal reality, then you'd have to start thinking about what you've been thinking about and change it? Yes? Mm-hmm. And you'd have to start noticing those unconscious habits and behaviors that lead to the same experiences, that create the same emotions, that reaffirm the same identity, and decide if you want to act and choose in the same way. And then you'd have to look at those emotions that you've memorized, that have become part of your personality, and decide if you want to bring those emotions into your future. You see, most people try to create a new personal reality as the same personality, and it's impossible. We literally have to become someone else. So then, if you keep thinking the same way every single day and making the same choices that lead to the same behaviors, there's a principle in neuroscience. And that principle is nerve cells that fire together wire together. So as you repeat the same thoughts, choices, behaviors, and experiences, you're forcing your brain to fire in the same sequences, in the same patterns, in the same combinations every day. And as long as you make your brain work the same way every day, you're reproducing the same level of mind. And you begin to hardwire your brain into a very finite signature. And that finite signature is like the box of the...
Okay, so we're gonna do our meditation about 2 minutes. I just want to go over a couple things about it before we hop right into it, because it is a very specific type of meditation. And basically what it is it's Dr. Joe, and I'm doing all these things in alignment with the Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, because that's what we're starting on Monday. And I just find that this is a really good opening to what we're going to be learning and reading in this book. I'm sure a lot of us have already started reading it, but basically everything that I'm going to be going over today is basically what happened. I wrote a journal entry yesterday, and it ended up being like 12 pages. And it was just me going off on all these tangents about this information that I learned from Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. I really just wanted to kind of write out everything that I remembered from the lessons that I learned from Dr. Joe. And it ended up being a very powerful journal entry. So we're going to do this little opening meditation. And then I'm just going to kind of go read what I wrote in my journal. Because I know some of us are pretty consistent with journal entries. And I know that most of us, I know I have days like this where I just don't really end up really having anything to say in my journal. Like it's hard to get words out. So, just kind of showing you how I journal and seeing if it can help you guys at all. And the information is it ended up being like a huge breakthrough. I learned so much just by writing all this stuff out. But the meditation that we're going to be doing is basically it's a specific type of breathing. And it's about accessing all of your chakras. So when we do this breath, and he's going to kind of go over it halfway through the meditation. So the introduction is going to be him talking about the idea, and then he'll give you the explanation on how to do the breathing halfway through. But I want you guys to know how to do it from the start. And so what it is we're working on getting our energy source to come from our perineum chakra, which is the bottom one, like where our pelvic, or where we do like Kegels and our pelvis is. And then we're just going to slowly work up that energy so we can get it to the top of our head. And how we're going to do that is we're going to start a very slow, consistent breath. And when we begin that breath, what I want you to do is do like a Kegel, like flex that muscle. And slowly breathe in, flexing that bottom muscle. And then the next one's going to be sucking in your abdomen. So flexing your abdomen. And then it's going to be moving that energy up to your heart and your chest. So we're going to tighten those muscles as well. And really what we're doing is we're squeezing our muscles together and trying to get that energy source from our base to the top of our head. Because as soon as that starts to happen, we create a positive charge in the top of our head and a negative charge in the bottom, at the base of our spine. And we become this energy source that has a vibration, and you'll actually start to feel like goosebumps. You'll feel like a ball of energy going from the base of your spine, crawling up your back, like, like that, egg, like smack the egg on your head and the yolk is drizzling down, like that weird feeling. You'll get something like that, except it'll be from the bottom to the top. And understand that this meditation, for me, when I'm doing it, I'm not really sitting still. And he'll talk about that as well in the middle. River, stop. Where, he'll basically say, like, if you feel like your body wants to do weird things, just let it happen and just give into it. And what happens for me is I end up like I'll do the breath and then I'll start to feel the feeling, and I can feel that energy source kind of trying to crawl up my back. And what I'll do, like, my body starts to wiggle, and like I'll even start to move in like a circle. So like I'll do like this. So I'm like meditating, right? And I'm like kind of working that energy source up. I'm squeezing the muscles, and then I end up kind of going in this sway motion where like I'm not really sitting still, but it's like getting in that flow allows me to kind of like skewer the energy source up. So, and maybe that's not going to work for you, but if you feel like your body's starting to do weird things, just give into it. Because it's really, really going to help you get to that energy source. And so that's basically what it is. So it's like slow breathing, like flex the base, flex your abs, then suck it in. Like literally, I'll like suck my stomach in as much as I can. And what you're doing is you're really squeezing that energy. It's kind of like if you ever make cake and you got to put the icing in that little tube and then you got to squeeze it down, right? That's kind of the idea that you want here. And, we're not pushing, we're not allowing our heads to get purple and red. We're not like putting pressure on our body. It's just a simple, light flex that moves all the way up your body. So flex the bottom, your abs, flex your chest, lower your shoulders, extend your neck, and then just feel that energy source going up to the top of your head. I find that I really like to do, have, like imagine a light, like a really bright light above me. And sometimes it's even helpful to have a light above you, or like have a candle. Sometimes I'll sit on the floor and I'll have a candle on the table right in front of me. So it's like at the top of my head. So that is just like a little reminder to keep your energy and your attention up at the top of your head. And so we're just going to go through this. It's about 10 minutes, the meditation. I'll just kind of go through, just let me know, throw a 1 in the chat if you can hear it.
It's important for you to keep practicing.
And if it's too loud, rate it 2.
Many people, they do it once or twice and they say nothing
we'll start
happened.
it over. I'm just trying to make sure you guys.
But my question is.
Okay, cool. Perfect. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so let go. Just get into it. If you feel your body's doing weird things, that's totally fine. Like I've had meditations like this where I am literally, and I'm just going to take my camera off because I can get really more into it. I'm a little insecure with the way I do it. So maybe another time I'll show my face. But what was it? Oh yeah, there have been times like literally where I'm sitting down and I like fall over because like I'm literally like I lose concept of space and time. And it ends up I end up just like having so much energy being flowed into my head that I lose balance and fall over. So if you feel the need to sit on the ground, do that because it is possible to fall over in this. Don't do it if you're driving. If you're driving right now, do not do this. And I wouldn't really operate machinery for like at least 10 minutes afterwards because it's very, very powerful. So let's get into it. And there will be a sound at the end. It'll give you like a 10-second reminder that it's about to be over, and it's like dun dun dun, and that's what it'll sound like. So that's your little 10-second reminder that we're almost done. All right, so here we go.
When you do this breath, you have to demonstrate a will that's greater than any program. You have to find a level of intensity or a level of passion that's greater than the body as the mind or any addiction to any emotion. You have to be inspired, inspiration, the movement of energy. It's important for you to keep practicing. Many people, they do it once or twice and they say, nothing happened, I'm going to give up. But my question is, how long have you been thinking and feeling in these loops? And what is it going to take to begin to disturb that energy so you begin to shake it loose? And once it shakes loose and that sympathetic nervous system switches on, it's a moving freight train. It's a moving locomotive. Because once this energy starts to move, and a movement of that energy, once it reaches the brain, is going to create a positive charge in the head, and a negative charge at the base of the spine. Once it reaches the brain, now you're going to have an invisible electromagnetic field surrounding your body. And now your body is a magnet, and now you've liberated that energy that's been stored in there. That creative energy is now liberated for you to begin to create a new life, to heal your body, to have a mystical experience, whatever your desire is. So be kind to yourself, practice it methodically and slowly. And if you keep practicing it, just like any skill, it'll get easier and easier. Good luck. So as you sit up straight and open up this channel to the brain, in one slow, steady breath, as you inhale, you're going to lift those muscles, perineum, front and back, up at the same time. So as you inhale now, you're pulling that energy and contracting these muscles, and you're locking that first center down, and you're squeezing, and you're milking this energy out of it. So it goes first center, then you follow your breath into the second center, and as you follow your breath into the second center, now you lock this one down. And the way you lock it down is you pull in your belly button close to your spine. You pull it in. So then inhale, first center, then you pull in the second center. You're still following your breath slowly and steadily. And then you pull it up into your upper abdomen, and you're locking down the center here. Now you're squeezing all three of these lower centers. And when you squeeze these muscles, you begin to push that cerebrospinal fluid up. You follow your breath up into your chest, shoulders down. You follow it through your throat, straighten your spine. You follow it all the way up to the top of your head. Now, where you place your attention is where you place your energy. So you want that energy to move right to the top of your head. So then as you inhale, you bring that energy all the way up to the top. You keep following your breath. You lock all the way to the top. When you get to the top, now you hold your breath. And when you hold your breath, you contract those intrinsic muscles. And you begin to lift those muscles up, and you begin to compress those muscles, and you begin to push that cerebrospinal fluid up into your brain. So then, why do I ask you to inhale and hold your breath? Now, this isn't inhaling and turning purple and pushing. If you're doing that, you're doing it wrong. It's a slow, steady breath, and you follow that breath all the way to the top, either to the top of your head, or you put your awareness on where that pineal gland is between the back of your throat and the back of your head. Now, when you inhale, that inhalation is very slow and very steady. It's not a big inhalation and pushing. It's a slow, steady breath, and you're contracting these muscles and coordinating it. You're following your breath all the way to the top of your head. And when you get to the top of your head, I'm going to ask you to inhale a little bit more. And as you pull up, you're going to lock these muscles down even further, and you're lifting them up. Once you lift them up and you have your attention either on the top of your head or the space that your pineal gland occupies in space, I'm going to ask you to lock those muscles down and pump, squeeze, or push. And I want you to push that fluid up into your brain by squeezing the muscles. Not by holding your breath harder, but by squeezing those muscles. And I want you to begin to pump that fluid and begin to compress up against your pineal gland. When you do this breath, you have to demonstrate a will that's greater than any program. You have to find a level of intensity or a level of passion that's greater than the body as the mind or any addiction to any emotion. You have to be inspired, inspiration, the movement of energy. Don't be afraid of it. Just surrender into it. For some people, their body will do unusual things. That's information trying to be integrated into it. Don't be afraid of it. Just surrender into it. If your body does weird things, more than likely that's energy moving to your brain. If you have a lapse of consciousness or you all of a sudden find yourself on the ground, that's energy moving into your brain. It's happened to me numerous times. It's a sign that you're getting close, or at least doing it correctly. Now, where you place your attention is where you place your energy. So you want that energy to move right to the top of your head. Inspiration, the movement of energy. You have to find a level of intensity or a level of passion that's greater than the body as the mind or any addiction to any emotion. Don't be afraid of it. Just surrender into it.
right. How's everybody feeling? Nice and calm? I hope so.
People wake up in the morning.
Nope, don't need that. If you guys want the link to that, I will post it I posted it before, I think earlier this week or something, but it's really a good one. And honestly, it took me a few times before I got to that, like, completely like spaced out. Like, I kind of feel a little spacey right now, but it takes a few times. So if it didn't happen that time, try it every day for like a few days. Like now I forgot about this meditation, to be honest. I did it for like 6 months and then I stopped. I moved on to breath work with Wim Hof, and then I completely forgot about it. And now that I was thinking like, all right, so because I wasn't really in the chat for like about 3 to 4 weeks. Mindset calls were kind of canceled. And there was a lot of stuff going on. But what happened was I was trying to figure out like, okay, so how did I raise my vibration the last time? Like something went wrong, right? And I figured out a way to get out of it. And then I realized that it was this meditation that did it. And now I've been doing it every day, and I feel it's like night and day. It's crazy. But that's Dr. Joe Dispenza. He is the author of the book we're going to start on Monday, or that we're starting already. The first meeting is on Monday. Nice. That's awesome. Let's go. That's what I like to hear. That's great. But where was I? Saying something about something. I don't remember. But basically, so we're doing the book club on Monday. The books, we started reading the book. Dr. Joe was the one who led that meditation, and this lesson that we're doing today is going to be all about that similar aligned information. Yesterday I had basically a huge breakthrough, and I just went on a tangent. I could have wrote a whole novel yesterday if I had enough time. I just kind of started writing and I couldn't stop. So I'm just going to read that journal entry to you guys, because it goes over a lot about what the book's ideas are. Kind of gives you a little sneak preview of what we're going to be reading and what to get excited for, because there's a lot of exercises in this book that teach us like things about meditation and how to access that supernatural power. Yeah, of course. Thanks for joining. I appreciate it, Gogo. But so we're just gonna go right into it. I'm just gonna read it, honestly, because I don't think I could have said it any better than I already have. And I don't want to miss anything. So yeah, that's so I think that's what I'm gonna do. But I'll have the chat still up if you guys have questions or you want to make a comment. We can make this a discussion as well if you want to just message. That's the only bad part about YouTube is like you can't really have others talk until you become famous, and then you can connect Zoom to it. But we're not there yet. We'll get there, but not yet. So I'm just going to start out, just read the whole thing. So enjoy. If you have questions about anything, don't hesitate to ask. I can always pause and go back. So here we go. So what a great day to be alive and healthy. Thank you, God, for always providing. It's nice to know you always have the solution. We just need to become aware enough to notice. This would be so much harder to handle without you. You've always taught me what is best, but did I always listen? No. But that's what you wanted. You want us to figure out everything for ourselves, whether it is right or wrong, fatal or not. It's a little ruthless, but that's what original sin is all about and what our free will is all about. But I have to be honest, this ruthlessness from first glance seems like wasted energy and will. And I'm sure that I'm not the only one that has had these thoughts, right? Like, what benefits do people like? Situations where, someone's a victim being attacked by somebody. What benefits do they get from that lesson? Sure, maybe it's a lesson that but that's a very heartless way. Like maybe it's a lesson of being more careful, maybe, not walking by yourself at night. There's many different things that could happen, but um, it's still a very heartless way of providing a lesson or opportunity to learn. But at the same time, it's kind of what it's all about. God doesn't want us to know why certain things happen, just that we should understand there's always some reason for it. And it's up to us to figure that out. Free will is good, right? And it allows us to learn our lessons, but it also provides opportunity for people to abuse it. The reality is, if we want free will, we have to accept the possibility of it being utilized for evil. But I think that the point is that it has to be free will for everyone and everything. You can't just make limitations, or there can't be limitations or elsewhere, or else where do the limitations end? Right? Like, how do you draw a line in the sand and then not have people cross it? Right? It's like, that's kind of difficult to do. It's got to be all or nothing, is what it seems. So I guess after more thought, it's kind of understandable that he needs to allow people to utilize that free will no matter what. But a lot of the bad that happens to us doesn't really make sense without explanation or interpretation. And we rarely get the explanation until we start becoming more aware of signs that hint at the correct response that the universe or God is providing for us. So it's kind of like this disconnect where, like, we have to be aware to notice the right thing, but in order for us to notice it, we have to be aware. And if we're not aware, how do we get there? Right. And that's where this information is really powerful, and why I love that we're reading this book together, because it's so, it leaves an opportunity for a lot of discussion. And where are we? But until we start becoming more aware of signs that hint at the correct response that the universe or God is providing for us. The struggle lies in the beginning of this journey. For the unaware, the unconscious minds, aka 95% of people in this world, that are all left behind to interpret all of these things they don't understand. And that's why so many people don't become supernatural. These interpretations breeds misinformation, and misinformation breeds the misinformed. And then the misinformed act drastically through emotional reactions, which then causes bad decisions, injury, evil, and sometimes even death to occur. Misinformation creates a domino effect into negative emotions and reactions. An example being every protest turned into a riot. There's always that pivotal moment where one person gets worked up and does something that's destructive. Then people have a choice, but it's really not the choice of everyone, but the choice of the one that reacts the quickest. The person is typically another aggressive reaction of smashing, breaking, yelling, cursing, or really any version of negative human response or emotion. That second person has all the power. They can either correct and break down the first person's reaction, show them how they're misinterpreting, and then redirect them to a more positive approach, or they feed off of it like a leech, like a parasite that just creates disease through the entire group of people. Unfortunately, it's mostly the latter, and that's where riots ensue. Right. And it's such difficult, and that's why so many protests turn riots, and it's just like, it's tough. But the point is, you see thoughts, or powerful thoughts, or things. What? That doesn't make sense. See, thoughts are things, and they create everything in our universe. Everything that has been, is, or ever will be begins by thought alone. Of course, man. I got you. This is like I just had this. It was amazing. I loved having this, like, just writing all this stuff out. It took me like no time because it was just like flowing off my head. It was like one of those just crazy moments. But I'm glad I'm able to share it with you guys for sure. But everything that has been, is, or ever will be begins by thought alone. They become even more powerful. They become more powerful than one mind when they are thinking together and thinking like things, right? Riots are huge examples of how things can go awry. A more positive result of this concept, or really science, is exemplified through environments like our Zoom calls, like this call. We end up creating this connective energy source through thousands of miles of land into one moment that lasts an entire call. This is what a mastermind is: a group of people, a group of like-minded individuals who are working towards a similar goal, becoming more aware, more spiritual, empowering our subconscious mind, and losing our fight or flight mind so that we become one of no mind, simply feeling everything through the body. That's what no mind is where if we're looking to make a decision about something, we don't need to use our mind. We just need to feel. The heart will always tell you what the right decision is. You just have to be aware of those feelings that come up, right? Because it's very easy for us to disregard the first feeling and then overthink it. But that's when the mind starts to distort what the body is telling us. So we need to, any decision that we're making, it should be about the body's feeling. But what about that? Yeah, group like-minded individuals, blah blah blah. But yeah, allowing our hearts to tell us what the right decision is, because the instinct is always correct. Always, 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 always correct. If you think about it, that is what if you think about it, that is what the ether is all about. Forget about the benefits that we get from each other as pivotal entities into a mastermind group, and just think about how we're able to be on camera. That was wrong too. How we're able to be on camera in a call with multiple people that stretch all over the world. That ability derives from an energy source that is invisible. And we don't see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, or touch it. But we know it exists because we have the access. So why would we think of the mind as anything different? The mind is our personal ether. Quantum physics shows us that through thought alone, we have the power to affect our past, present, and future. Yes, that is right. We actually can affect our past through thought alone. But I'll leave that gem for you guys to learn in Dr. Joe Dispenza's book, Breaking the Habit of Eating Yourself, because he does explain that in there. So make sure you get the book. Like, have you ever ran a scenario through your head so many times that it feels real, like it already happened? Have you ever had a deja vu moment? Have you ever heard someone say something before they actually vocalized anything? Like, especially a partner or a wife or a husband. Like, in past relationships, I know what they're thinking before they say it. Like, it's happened, and I'm sure it's happened to you too. Like your kids, your parents, like, you know what people are thinking when you're that connected to them, right? And these are all examples of the supernatural powers in our minds. It reads things we can't even begin to understand because they are traits that can never be understood by the mind, but instead understood through the access of no mind. We must feel this energy source and know that they come from being. When we work diligently on being more present and forgetting our past or future, we begin to access the subconscious, where all creations are born. We forget the worries of the past events or what could be, should be, or will be in the future, and we step into the now. We realize that the past, present, and future exists now. If we have the ability to see the future through thought alone and affect it, if our brains have the ability to affect the past and manifesting our desires by imagining them as already being ours, then why would we ever worry or doubt? Why would we ever question our mind's powers? And I love that point, because I'm gonna have to like write that down like all the time. It's like, why would we ever question our mind's power? Because it's so true. Like, it has so much more power than we ever know. Like, they say that most people only access 10% of their brain, but the reality is 10% is the max for most people. But they only access about 2% of their mind. And it's like, that's why people don't believe this or see it or understand it, because they're not accessing that other 8% that's available to them. Right. And I find that I get every answer that I'm looking for too by listening how my body feels, feeling how my body feels. The answer is never in the mind. Never. It's never going to be in the mind. It's always going to be in the body. It's always going to be in feeling. Some call it listening to your heart. It's been around for centuries, but with all these distractions in life today, like smartphones, with a billion app options to distract us, with social media that sends our dopamine through the roof, and then much like a drug becomes very addictive, because we just want to keep going back for it. We can keep going back for it. You get one notification, dopamine spikes, right? And then you go and start doing something else, right? You start reading, and maybe you're not getting that same hike in dopamine. So then you go back to your phone. And it's so difficult to get out of that cycle. If you wake up the first moment in the morning, or if like the first moment you get bored, first moment of boredom and go grab your phone, it's a problem. And I'm no different. His unconscious patterns go get us before we even realize, after we already have those negative traits and are almost addicted to them, right? It's we look at like people who drink all the time, people who do drugs, like they're alcoholics, they're addicts, right? If you wake up in the morning and you're craving a drink, that means you probably should stop drinking, right? There's the same thing with the phone. It's like, if you wake up and the first thing you want to do is grab your phone, that's also an addiction. It means you can't go even 1 minute without touching it. You become aware, you wake up, and then you grab your phone. And I do it too. But the important thing is to now become aware of those things so that we can change them. But yeah, so, almost addicted, all these negative traits, and, we're almost addicted, and some are addicted and some are more addicted than others. Others call it intuition, instinct, a good feeling. We can all relate to this idea, but the question is, do we ever listen? Do we listen enough? Are we getting the information to tell us to listen to our body and applying that information, or are we still a victim of our mind's stress, fight or flight mode? The truth is, most of us don't. It's sad but true. It's a muscle, unlike any other. Just like every other muscle, it needs to be trained or it becomes weak. It becomes unconscious. And what we're trying to do is become conscious, right? So my best analogy for this idea is pull-ups. So at peak fitness, you can see some cats doing like sets of 50, and you're over there with your jaw on the floor, just like, how in the hell is this guy doing that? It's like, and I do that too. Like when I go back into the gym after a while, I'm like, Jesus, Like I automatically want to see myself as the last time I went to the gym, which is like much more fit. And then I look at myself and I look at everybody else, and it's like this whole thing, you know. But so you can easily psych yourself out for those when during doing those things. But then you start doing pull-ups. And at first, you know, we got to use the resistance bands or that counterweight, John, that offsets the poundage, that helps us to get through the motions, right? But over time, that counterweight sets less and less and less and less until you can do pull-ups with no resistance. And then that steady growth continues and builds you into the beast you were envying in the first place. And now you're the person that everybody's looking at with their jaw on the floor while you're doing all those pull-ups, when at first you thought it was impossible. You know, it's crazy. That kind of transition can happen with the body. It can also happen with the mind. We need to just have that daily work. The mind is the same thing. It's a muscle. And without daily training, and it's the most important muscle, like the most important organ in our body is our brain. And without the daily training, it gets weak, and you know, it succumbs to destruction and other weaknesses or other destructive habits. How we do one thing is how we do everything. But we don't make our beds if we don't make our beds in the morning, we may not choose the healthy breakfast. If we don't use the healthy breakfast, well, since we're already unhealthy for the day, we might as well just save some time and get fast food after work, right? And then the cycle starts over. And like for me, it will be more like, you know, wake and bake and have mac and cheese for breakfast, but you get the picture. Every decision affects the rest, Jim Rohn. So we need to have the intention with everything we do. Before we make any decisions, make sure you ask yourself, does this help the current person that I am? Or does it help the person that I'm trying to become? And if you listen to your body, if you feel it, you'll immediately know the right answer, because you are feeling yourself. You are feeling the right decision, and it always feels right. Deep down, it always does. That first thought, because you can easily overthink. You can easily allow yourself to worry. Like if you have this like epitome moment where you're like, wow, I want to be a bodybuilder. I think I could do that. And then you sit on that thought, and then you start realizing, well, I haven't been doing it my whole life, and like I'm already so behind, you know, and you can easily get yourself out of that stuff. But always understand that first instinctual feeling was right. We must train our minds, and that begins with meditation and feeding our brains with positive information. Audios are key. Morning meditation is key. Booking and reading books and journaling are keys to the mansion you dream about, to the trips you drool over, to the car you've been staring at for years. Now, how do we decide what to do and at what point in time? If you're overthinking, we got to get a journal and we got to start writing. If we're underthinking, we got to read and feed our mind so that we start thinking about these ideas that we're reading about, right? And then I found that morning audios are the most helpful, especially when I'm waking up with distracting thoughts. You know, like when I was going back into these positive habits, right? I would wake up and I wouldn't even try to manifest when I was first starting out, because you try to manifest and then you get doubt, right? So I would find an audio right before I went to sleep. I would put it on my Spotify. So when I woke up, I would literally just wake up, hit play, and have it playing in my ear while I'm laying in bed. And then having all these positive information, all these lessons, all these advice, all these things that help you become the person that you want to be. You're feeding your mind with all these things you know you should be doing, and you know that help you. And then you get out of bed and you do it. You know, it's simple things like that where it really helps to do stuff like that. You know, I always like to do some sort of positive affirmation or or get some sort of positive information in my mind, because if I can't control my thoughts immediately, then they're going to go distraction into negatives, and then negative. Or it's going to be, I wake up and I get on Facebook and I start doing things, right? And maybe I comment on a post, and then I go and I try and do my morning routine. I'm like, and then I get a ding. Somebody responded to my thing, you know? So, and it's the same thing with, like, you know, texting before you go to sleep. If you wake up to all these text messages, it's so hard not to go and grab it. But we have to avoid that instinct, because it's not really an instinct. It's our unconscious mind controlling our instinct and making us believe that it is our instinct, because it's been such a consistent habit. But until we change that habit, we're not even going to be aware or conscious enough to realize these things that we're doing. So be aware of those things. You know, if I'm waking up and I'm feeling distracted and I'm getting into negative feelings, I immediately go into an audio, and then I'm being fed with the right information, you know, which triggers the positive emotions in me, and therefore jumpstarts my day into a positive way. If you find your mind in stress mode most mornings, you need to feed it while you're waking up and start on that audio that speaks to you. Find one that you really, really gets you jived up, really gets you going, because that's really what matters. You know, what works for me might not work for you, and vice versa. But it's important to know that first, and I've said this a lot, and I'll say it probably every time I go over these topics, is that first 10 to 30 minutes after waking up sets you up for a positive, distraction-free day, focus-filled day, or a negative, distracted day. So wake up and meditate or listen to a powerful audio. And, you know, if you need some, I have some, and I know all of us have some. You know, maybe we should just find our favorite audio and post it in the mindset resources tab in Discord. I would love for us to do that. If I can challenge you guys to just pick your favorite audio and throw it in there, because it would be really helpful just for all of us to figure out what works for you guys, and then see if it also works for us. But, you know, doing these things, applying this information, making sure you're feeling your heart, feeling your instinct, feeling that gut feeling, focusing on that as opposed to the mind, is really, really going to change everything for you. You know, we got to feel before we think, and we'll watch our lives change before our eyes. It's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. But the consistency is what matters. You know, making sure that first 30 minutes in the morning is for you, doing something positive aligned with your goals. You can't go wrong. You really can't. So that's really all I have for today. If you guys could throw a like on the video, and if you're not subscribed, I would be so grateful if you could subscribe. I really want to figure out a way to get this to a bigger audience, right? Because I just love doing it, and I think it's information that's important. People need it, and they don't know how to get it. They don't even know it's there. They don't even understand, because they're not aware. They're unconscious all the time. 95% of people are unconscious all the time. And maybe they'll slip out every so often. And maybe they won't. Maybe they'll slip out for 30 minutes and then they go back in for the other 23 and a half hours. You know, it's crazy. But, you know, rewatch this video. Make sure you get this book. Make sure you read it with us and get on those book club calls. I believe the call is going to be at 8 p.m. on Monday, Eastern time. So it gives everybody a little bit extra time. You know, maybe people who are working jobs can actually get into the call and share their opinion, share their voice, right? But yeah, that's really all I got for today. Thank you for the like, whoever that was. I appreciate you. And that's kind of all I got. So thanks for joining today, guys. We got meditation with GoGo tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern time. And I'll see you all there and in the chats today. Let's go. All right. Thank you, guys. I love you. Appreciate you and have a wonderful day.